You know that feeling when you're watching a show and a romance is so good you're just completely hooked? Well, today we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of why that happens. We're breaking down the anatomy of a truly fantastic TV romance to figure out the storytelling choices that make it so compelling.
And hey, it's not just us saying it. A lot of people felt this way. This quote kind of sums it up perfectly. This particular story just recaptured a kind of romantic magic. So, what's the secret sauce? What did they get so right? Well, like all great stories, it all comes down to the characters.
So, let's meet our pair. On one side, you've got Benedict Bridgerton. He's the artist, the second son, and he's feeling totally lost in high society. And on the other side, we have Sophie, who's an illegitimate daughter, basically forced to live in the shadows. But here's the thing. Look at what they have in common. They both feel like imposters, like they don't really belong. And that shared wound, that's the foundation for everything.
Okay, let's start from the very beginning. Section 1, a refreshing romance. Because the magic here isn't just about putting two good-looking people in a room. It's all about how they're introduced with some real depth that just pulls you in right away.
First up, Benedict. Sure, on the surface, he's the charming rake, but the story gives us so much more. We see how genuinely frustrated he is with how shallow everything is. He's not just messing around for fun, he's actively looking for something real, and he's coming up totally empty. That makes him way more than a stereotype. He's a guy who's been let down by his world, and that's what drives him.
And then we have Sophie, who enters the scene as a total enigma. She shows up at this fancy ball, looking the part, but little things are just a bit off. The story drops these subtle clues that she's an outsider. And as a viewer, you just can't help but lean forward and go, wait, who is this woman? It's just a brilliant way to build that anticipation and make us instantly start rooting for her.
All of this amazing setup builds right into the moment they first meet. And that brings us to our second section, love at first sight. Now, I know what you're thinking. That trope can be so cheesy, but let's look at how they break it down here to make it feel completely real.
So here's the big question, right? How do you make this old school idea feel fresh and, believable today? Well, this analysis suggests there's a very specific three-part formula that makes it all click into place.
Here's how it works. First, you start with a jaded hero. We've already established that Benedict is bored by everyone, so when he's instantly captivated by someone, we know it's a big deal. Second, the encounter feels authentic. Sophie isn't putting on a show or trying to impress him, she's just herself. And third, you add a little mystery. She won't tell him her name, which makes her impossible for him to forget. See? It's not just a spark, it's a real connection built on who they are.
But of course, they can't just ride off into the sunset. They're separated. And that leads us to Section 3, the agony of yearning. This part, the separation, isn't just filler. No, this is where the writers really make us feel the stakes.
I mean, just look at Benedict. The man is completely smitten. He keeps her glove like it's a holy relic. He's so desperate, he even asks the town gossip to help him find this mystery woman. It just goes to show how that one single night totally changed him. For the first time, he feels like a real connection is possible, and he is not letting that hope go.
And on Sophie's side, that yearning is just as powerful. There's this absolutely gut-wrenching moment where she sees him again, but she can't say anything because of her situation. All she can do is run away and just scream in frustration. That scene is so powerful because we feel her longing, but we also see her impossible conflict. You feel that ache right there with her.
Years go by before they actually meet again, and this brings us to Section 4, reconnecting. But when they do, things are totally different. She's now a maid in his own home, and a new, and let me tell you, much more complicated dynamic starts to take shape.
And one of the very first things that happens is this. He sees someone treating Sophie badly, and he doesn't even know it's her yet, but he immediately steps in. This line, apologize to her, it tells us so much. It shows that at his core, he's a decent person. He's protective. It proves he's a hero we should be rooting for, even outside of his crush.
So, their new relationship? It's this fascinating mix of things. You get this playful banter where he's always teasing her, trying to get her to let her guard down. It's all driven by this protective instinct. He just wants to see her experience a little bit of joy. And deep down, they're still connecting over those hidden similarities, the fact that they're both hiding their true selves. It's a great opposites attract vibe, but it works because it's so grounded in their personalities.
This slow, careful build of their connection leads us straight to our fifth section, the ultimate breaking point. The story layers all these tiny, intimate moments that are all building toward one massive emotional explosion. they're using what we call forced proximity, but the real genius is in the tiny details. We're not talking about huge romantic gestures, we're talking about a shared look on the stairs, the quiet intimacy of her fixing his shirt button, or him getting so flustered by his feelings that he literally snaps a pencil in half. It's those little moments that build this almost unbearable tension.
And this all leads to this hugely symbolic turning point. All this time, Benedict has been sketching his memory of the Lady in Silver, this perfect, untouchable fantasy. But then we see a crucial shift. He stops drawing the fantasy and he starts drawing the real Sophie, the maid standing right there. It's the moment we know he's fallen for the woman, not the idea.
It all comes to a head with this speech. He finally lays it all out there with one of the most swoon-worthy declarations you can imagine. For Sophie, hearing this is everything. It's being seen. It's being wanted. It is the absolute peak of romance.
And then he follows it up with this: "Be my mistress." And just like that, in 3 little words, that perfect, beautiful moment is completely shattered. It's just devastating.
And this right here is why the conflict is so brilliant and so tragic. From Benedict's point of view, he's offering her the best he can. He's offering protection, a way for them to be together inside the box his world has built for him. But for Sophie, who is herself an illegitimate child, this isn't an offer of love. It's her worst nightmare. He's asking her to live the same insecure life her mother did. It's a perfect heartbreak, born entirely out of who they are and where they come from.
Okay, so that brings us to our final section, why this romance works. Let's pull all these threads together and look at the secret ingredients that make this story just so dang good.
So the formula, if you want to call it that, really boils down to this. You start with characters who have deep, relatable wounds. Then you build a masterful slow burn, letting the tension grow through small, meaningful moments. You have to make sure the yearning is mutual and intense. We have to feel the ache from both sides. And probably the most important part, the conflict has to be character-driven. The heartbreak comes from them, not from some random external plot twist.
And in the end, that devastating conflict has a real purpose. It's not just there for drama. As this quote says so well, it's the thing that forces Benedict to finally grow up. It pushes him to see that loving Sophie isn't about finding a safe, convenient arrangement. It's about choosing her completely, no matter what it costs him.
Which leaves us with the huge thematic question at the heart of the entire story. It's a question that these characters have to face, and really a question that feels universal. Is choosing love, true, all-in, complete love, worth defying the rules of your entire world? Now that is what makes a romance unforgettable.